All right, everybody. So, I wanted to go over connecting Arduino to Unity. It's actually been some changes since the version that I had put in originally up on uh, Canvas. So I wanted to just go ahead and do an updated video for this, and I'll upload files as well. So for this, going to be building this in Unity 6, the version that, like I mentioned before in class, 6000.0.55. Um, it's not the current updated version of the LTS, but it is the version that was available when I needed to request it. So we've got that now on all the machines, so in all the labs, so you should be able to use it there. Obviously, feel free to use whichever version you and your group decide on, but all the videos I'm going to do are going to be based off of this. So um, for this, I just created a basic scene um, and added an empty game object. I named it Arduino controller. Um, in my project, I created an asset folder called Arduino, and then I brought in the Arduino receiver file that was up on, or is up on Canvas, but I've modified that. But before we go into that, to be able to connect Arduino to Unity, we need to go into the project settings. So if we go to project settings and you click on player, you want to scroll down. It's in the other settings section. So when you boot it up, it's going to look like this. Uh, you want to scroll down to the other settings, which will normally be closed up. Open it up and then scroll down until you get to the configuration settings. And so this should, when you boot it up, be as .NET Standard 2.1, which is great for most all your projects, except when you're needing to connect Arduino to Unity. So in here, you're going to need to change it to the just plain .NET framework. Make sure you're on mono, and everything else should be good to go from that standpoint. If you don't do that, it's not going to recognize the system serial port input outputs, which obviously is the mainstay of this. So go ahead and make sure those are in. All right, let me actually, the other key thing to know of note is, let me open up my Arduino real quick. So I rewrote the Arduino script a little bit. It's based on a different version. This might be a little bit more helpful to everyone, um, which we'll go over. This was based off of the Unreal joystick uh, that I had done last year's class, um, but this works perfectly fine for Unity as well. So I'll make sure I upload this file for everyone to use. So one of the big things, the moment that I have Arduino opened up, it's reading the COM3 port, right? So the serial port, uh, it's being read off of COM3, which you can just double check that here in, I believe it's tools and port COM3, right? We want to make sure that that says COM3 because in our Unity code, we're specifically stating COM3, so you need to make sure that's there. Um, And this is just off of the joystick, right? The joystick that I've got available for everyone to use. Um, and you can see that this is reading off of COM3 because I get this number 9 here. And if you come down to how this is working, COM port, no, or it's printing a 9 when X movement is 0, Y movement is 0 on the joystick, and the button is not being pressed. So that's going to give me a 9. If I'm actually standing still, X is 0, Y is 0. If I press the jump, then you get an 8. Um, so the reason for this is really kind of digging into all the different possible directions. So this is going to track if uh, you're going diagonals, or if you're going just forward, back, left, right, um, and then if you're jumping at the same time. So that results in 18 different potential settings. This does not bring movement speed into it. So if you're pushing further into it, it does not register that. Um, and it's only registering and sending it when there's a value change. So it is not every frame that I am pushing forward on the joystick. It's not sending that all the time. It only then would change it when I'm going from, excuse me, forward movement to now back to a neutral movement or to another direction. So only when a change is occurring. Otherwise, you get a lot of extraneous data I've found, and so this really helps with that. Um, I'm going to include, once again, this file, so you don't need to go over it. Um, Briefly, setting up the pins, I'm using um, the A pins, so the digital pins, the analog pins. I've got my joystick plugged directly into those pins. I don't have it going through the breadboard at all. I've got the two power pins, which is um, ground to the ground on the board. I've got the plus 5 volts going to the 5-volt pin. And then what we got here? Um, we've got URX is coming into A0, URY is going into A1, and SW is going into A2. So those are the connection points to this. Um, Once again, I've set up a bool um, for the value change. Is there a change of values? And then I'm setting up a string for X movement, for Y movement, and then the jump movement. And that's either a yes or no. Um, Normal setup for Arduino, you want to get your PID modes. Uh, so we're tracking this input. We want to track high, digital running high, and then beginning the serial port on 9600. And then our loop for this is we're just analog reading the pin. We're checking the X-axis pin, and we're checking to see if it's, in this case, less than 100. We're going for full movement, right? We're going for full left-right movement. And then -1 is going to be going to, I believe, the left. +1 would be going to the right. So we're checking for then greater than 900 on that value. I believe it's the range is 0 to 1085, I believe. Um, so there's some room. It's for full movement. You can dial this in to your needs as you want. Um, and then value change is true if it's actually changing. And then we check the y-axis access pin. So once again, I believe it's -1 for going backwards, greater than 900 for going forwards. I could be wrong in that order, but once it's dialed in correctly for it. Then we're going to check the digital read for checking to see if it's jumping. This is either a yes or a no. And then if the value has changed, then we're checking to see what the X movement is, the Y movement is, the jump movement is, and then that's going to spit out a number once again from 0 to 17. We set our value change back to false. We're not going to reset that until there is a value change. And then we have our delay of 100. I found that the delay of 100, which is a tenth of a second, is about the right timing in this. It has, quote, a little bit of lag, but it really is minimal at best. And anything much less than that, you're starting to get extraneous data, which does not help. And once again, I'm going to upload this file here shortly, but this at least goes through what this is doing. So um, it's really tempting to then leave this up and running when you're in your Unity. Uh, but let me show you what happens with that. The moment we try and do that, we hit play in our Unity, which will eventually load. Because there's so much to add to it. And we go to our console, we get this IO exception, access is denied. And so if you get this message, I mean, I can be pushing anything I want on the joystick, nothing's happening. Once you get this message, have that be the reminder that you need to close Arduino. You can't have it because Arduino is trying to access the Arduino Uno board through COM3, and Unity is trying to also read it, and so they're fighting, and Unity always loses. So if you get this message, just make sure that your Arduino IDE is closed, because now when we start it again, now we're not getting that information. All right, so how are we getting center and jumped? Okay, so in the code for this, you're going to have system.collections, collections generic, obviously using the Unity engine. Unity UI is not really necessary, but I have it in here just in case. The big one is this one here, using system.io ports, right? Without this, we're not going to be able to connect through to our Arduino controller. In here, you're going to want to set up a variable serial port. SP is equal to a new serial port. This is where you specify, we're looking at COM3. So make sure it's that. Make sure that 9600 matches the rate that you have on the Arduino script. Parity.none, 8, stop bits.1. This is all setting up all the information and being able to get the information from the serial port incorrectly. And then in our start, we need to open up that serial port. It does not start as open. So sp.open, that turns it on. And then we want to make sure that we have a low timeout. It's not really a big thing, but notice that, sp read timeout equals 1 works extremely well. We just don't want Unity to freeze as it's waiting for that opening. All right, and then we want to run this in a fixed update. If we run this in a normal update, once again, we get a lot of extraneous information. We want this to just be running on a fixed update schedule. So go ahead and you delete update, add in your void fixed update. And then we want to check and make sure in that update is our serial port open. If it's open, then we want to, we're going to set up an integer to bring in the information. And so we'll integer temp int, and that's equal to, and this is where we need to, it's sending that data from the Arduino as text. So we have it as a string coming in, and we need to remove it from a string. So we're going to int.parse, and then we're going to get that through our serial port read line. So we are sending a line from the Arduino to Unity. So we want to parse this out into integer because I'm just passing numbers. If you're passing words, then you're perfectly good. You don't need to worry about that. And then from that point, I am just passing that data to button pressed, showing that a button is pressed. You can add from your try, you can also add a catch. if you wish to add that. I usually probably for ill don't. Um, but in this case, it's working, so I don't need to worry about it. And so then in button pressed, we are bringing in an integer, right? From up here, we've parsed this uh, line that we know is an integer into an integer, and we're passing the integer over. So we're going to bring that integer in as a button. I've got this just currently as two lines. They're backwards, but it's perfectly okay. It doesn't matter. I've got it in a switch statement that's just checking to see what is the integer that's getting passed in on the button. And then all I'm checking to see right now is if it's centered, which means no X movement, no Y movement, and jump has not been pressed. And that, which is case 9. Case 8 is same thing, no X, no Y, and then jumped. So I'm just checking to see that. And then once again, then you can take all this information and send it wherever you need to, whatever system you need to be sending this info to, you've got the ability for that. And so when we save and build, we can come here now and hit play. Going to give it just a second to make sure you're up and running. Wait till centered comes. That means we've gotten that first bit of data from the joystick. Centered means the button's not pressed, it's just sitting idly at X, Y equals 0. And so now if I click it and push jumped, now the button has been pressed. It comes back as jumped. When I release the button, it goes back to centered. And so that's the way to connect up Unity to Arduino. Through this, you should be able to get in and make any modifications to your Arduino. I recommend passing over as basic of information as possible so that when you come into your Arduino receiver script, it's just easy to parse whatever it is out and then send that information to wherever it needs to go, whether that's to movement, whether that's to um, camera controls, whatever it is. You should easily be able to send that information from here, the Arduino receiver, to whatever subsystems and codes that you're using. I hope this is easy to follow along with, and I will see you all in class.